He's the one who picked the Vladimir as well yesterday.
I really want to see something unique from... I want to see something unique from Tricked because they're on the back foot. This is 0-2 now for them. If they... cheese might be the way to go. Just bring out something unique.
Yeah.
I've been harping on a lot about the brand. I think he's really cool. Syndra is strong right now, in my opinion. I think she has a lot of lane dominance. We have seen one in the tournament so far that didn't succeed. Maybe Trick can bring out something unique here. Maybe.
There's the Nidalee, Caitlyn and Kindred and the Rise to finish off the bans there. So nothing really a big surprise. Maybe the Caitlyn a little bit aimed at the ADCs when Lucian is still up. Graves was the first pick coming out from Trick, followed by a fast Trundle and early rotation as we've seen very often, and there's the Lucian as well, picked up by Nero.
Yeah, so the early jungle rotation coming out from Tricked. Basically, Graves is the next best if you think about it in terms of the carry potential and the heavy farm style. We have been seeing the resurgence of Elise and Gragas, which I feel like we've talked a lot about throughout this tournament so far. Wouldn't surprise me if Melty moved towards that at least likely to be Melty's choice. They like to have that bit of more of early aggression, have the pick style of play. But the Lucian Trundle, they have a bit of flexibility now. Trundle is that flex pick that we've been seeing a lot more of. Day 1, we saw a lot in the top. Day 2, we saw a lot in the bot.
True.
So when you pair it up with the Lucian, you lose a little bit of lane presence, but you have that fantastic split pusher when you combine it with the Rift Tower buff.
On the opposite side, Tricked have just picked up their Ezreal to go into the bottom lane, so of course we're going to go for that tier build, and the Braum as well, going into the bot lane. So looking at the other side for Melty, you mentioned the Elise, and they're already hovering over thinking of that. I mean, what else really is there on the board that Nero would want to play? I mean, Gragas is up, but he's more of an Elise player, I feel, in this scenario.
Yeah, I think the Elise does make a lot of sense. As we were talking about earlier, it's that whole early game pressure pick, and when you lock that in with the Morgana, you're pretty much setting yourself up for that pick style of play. Melty ran this yesterday against SK. We were worried about how it was going to perform and how well it would do, and to be fair, the Morgana was landing binding after binding after binding. I believe actually you and I cast that game, the Morgana into the Ezreal, Sedrin Q after Q after Q. So the Morgana definitely has some presence.
He was good at catching them, at least. Yes. But yeah, he was pinpoint on those Qs coming out. Have to see if it's mid lane or if it goes support, because actually Trundle or Morgana could go support in this scenario.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility here.
Yeah, it could be a lot of swapping around going in after that last pick gets locked in. But Trick eSports, what are they going to pick up here? They have a mid laner remaining, and they need a top laner. So what's still open? Nars still open.
It's got to be the Victor here. I feel like Victor's the safest mid laner right now.
Open.
He has plenty of wave clear and the Gnar as well, so you're prepared for the Trundle, and even if Melty decides to go for something tankier, then it's very much the Gnar can deal with it, especially with the changes to Black Cleaver.
Exactly.
You lose a little bit out on your front line, and the engage from Trick isn't as reliable as you would like, because Braum, he's more of a disengage support rather than a hard engage. And Gnar, while you do have that Mega Gnar, it's quite an obvious forward, like, okay, there's a giant thing running at me. I think he's looking to set up an engage. So you need that flank, you need that good vision control, and so far, Trick haven't been able to demonstrate that they're good at setting up for these flanks and having good vision control around objectives that they want to play for. We'll have to see if they make it work for themselves.
Yeah, it wasn't a very difficult predict for the last 2 picks either, because we've seen a lot of Victor, a lot of Gnar coming in, and the last pick was actually LeBlanc coming in from Melty. So that'll go into the mid lane, Morgana goes into the bot lane, and then Trundle goes into the top lane, which not a great matchup for the Trundle, at least early game. If he can get the Rift Herald buff, or he can get into the mid game, there's like a phase where he's like decent against Gnar. We saw yesterday where Trundle actually can do well against Gnar if you time your pairs correctly in that matchup, but still not a fun one. Mid lane, Victor now up against the LeBlanc. I'll be interested to see what summons they take. Most likely, Victor will take Barrier here against the LeBlanc, or he could maybe take the teleport if he feels he's not going to die. Probably going to see an Ignite from LeBlanc. Could also see a teleport.
So this is a matchup we've seen a lot throughout the tournament as well. Whenever the Victor has been picked up and not into the Azir or Rise, people have tried to answer it with that LeBlanc to try and have that kill pressure in lane. And typically, this is very much about Victor's lane up until level 6. So in the 1 to 5 phase, he can trade back and forth quite comfortably. He has the shield from his Siphon Power, and it's quite easy to land your Death Ray because you know where she's going to go back. Her distortion is a straight line. As long as you fire the ray on that line, it's going to hit her at some point. So it's quite easy to trade back, but once she gets that Mimic, she has so much more kill pressure in the lane.
Because you have another distortion, and then you can't guess where she's going to go.
So Victor will play a little bit more scared. The changes to Barrier has resulted in a little bit more of a resurgence. So it's now on a shorter cooldown. You have it more readily available. And I actually think it's a shorter cooldown than the Ignite right now, with being that it's 180 seconds. So you have it ready even after LeBlanc tries to go in for the all-in. So it provides a little bit more defensive stats and is going to try and keep Victor alive during this matchup.
Pretty good defensive option. I believe he's actually gone cleanse, as I can see here on the
he's decided
screen,
to change things up. So I go on. He sets me up for all that barrier talk, and then he decides, you know what?
Epic's cleanse.
What's he cleansing out of? Morgana. It's the Morgana pick potential.
And the Elise as well. And
the chains. Yeah, you do have a pretty big pick composition coming out from Melty. They're basically saying, we're going to group up, we're going to set up some deep vision, and then we're either going to try and catch you on the rotations, or we're going to set up for a siege, and then while you're trying to defend, we're going to land our single target CC and just burst you out of position.
Okay.
So it is a pretty standard pick comp. We have been seeing them throughout this tournament, and it's quite nice actually, because I feel like at MSI we saw pretty heavy team fight comps. That seemed to be what was prevalent. But now with 6-9 and 6-10, we're shifting more. You're seeing team fight comps, you're also seeing siege comps, pick comps, and you're seeing a bit more of a and definitely split push comps. It seems to be the rising power with the Glimpse of the Void buff.
Exactly. If you've got the Herald buff there, try and play around that one. Also with a lot of the pressure around Dragon as well, you have more lanes to play around. It's not just like Baron and Baron only, like, because no one's ever going to like take the Dragon last patch, but now people are really putting priority on that one, so you can see people pushing in other lanes.
And let's not forget that the Elder Dragon versus Baron debate yesterday, Sifa and I did see one team just go straight for the Elder Dragon. They said, we want it, we want to go for this. Other teams said, no, I'm going to take the Baron. And the big problem with that is the duration difference between the two buffs. Elder Dragon only lasts 2 minutes, whereas the Baron had a buff and now it lasts 3.5. So you can use that Baron to stall things out, wait for that massive damage buff to disappear, and then you can just use your extra additional buff that you have left over to
still have that window. Yeah,
exactly. So if you're going to go for the Elder Dragon, make sure you can use it. It is very time restrictive, and if you're going to pick it up, you have to force something then and there. It's not some, in my opinion, it's not something where you go, we want to fight, let's pick up the Elder Dragon. It's let's pick up the Elder Dragon and let's force a fight sort of situation, because very rarely have I'm yet to see a team properly utilize that Elder Dragon buff.
Well, we've seen a lot of teams prioritize it with like only 2 dragons or like 1 dragon versus like securing all 4 like initial dragons or even 5 and then going for the Elder Dragons. It's like, well, and yeah, maybe it's a no-brainer to pick up the Elder Dragon afterwards for the amplification. We are just waiting again because the players did pause as soon as we went in. We had a server issue, so we are just waiting for that one to resolve, and then once that's good to go, we will be heading into game. But it's just so interesting with like the metas we've been talking about and how everything's been changing up. Interactions between the champions, of course. Also, Black Cleaver has come back into it. I feel like we've spoken about that every single day, at least when we've been casting, because now you have less AD, but it is way cheaper to build. So you're hitting that spike earlier. It's making not super good. Dan tried it on Rek'Sai, didn't make Rek'Sai super good, but Lucian also picks that item up as well after the Ghost
Graves yesterday as well in a game that you and Stress cast.
It's true, yeah, and the Phantom Dance, I remember.
The 3 Black Cleaver coming out, the 3 Black Cleaver comp. I'm having awful flashbacks of League of Black Cleaver back when you could stack them.
Oh, yeah. That was followed by, like, what, League of Warmogs? And those were dark days.
You know, actually, Warmogs reminds me, that's had a few changes, and now I think that also gives you cooldown reduction now.
Doesn't everything in League of Legends?
There is a lot more cooldown reduction in the game right now, especially for those mid laners, so the mages are pretty happy. But up in the top lane, having that flat 20% for Nara is absolutely phenomenal. Super cost-efficient item right now. So the Graves yesterday, I believe he did go Black Cleaver into Phantom Dance, so that's what he decided to do.
Okay.
And so he's going to go for that off tank. He's still going to have a fair amount of damage, and we're seeing a move away from that Sterix more because that also had a change on this patch.
Exactly. And top lane, Fin actually went for the Fervor Battle, which we've been seeing a lot of Nars do actually in this tournament. So seems to be what they've adapted to. We used to see Grasp of the Undying pretty much all the time, but now we're seeing Fervor Battle pretty much every game. So thank you for the pen, Elias.
They want the deeps, that's why they've gone for the Fervor up in the top lane. Right, so now we're in the early game. We need to keep our eyes out on the lane swaps. There was some discussion by us in the office as to about whether or not the lane swap will be dead as a result of the experience changes. Now, when you duo jungle, the last hitter gets all the XP, so duo jungling doesn't actually give you that much at all. So it's what you're seeing now more of is the rush of the siege. They're going to send their top laner to join up with their duo partner to get that siege on as quickly as possible and make sure that their top laner gets as much experience as possible. So lane swaps still exist, but definitely not as prevalent as they used to be.
So I think this game we're just going to see the top lane is helping out their camps. Fin is happy that he's in game. 1 minute into this one. And there is a ward over the wall. It has not yet revealed Melty's bottom lane. Now it has, as Kyrdos walks out of his bush. I swear he was named Kyros yesterday. But either way, bot sides of the map, Fiddle and Reggie will be taking their camp. And Wax and Kyrdos will be doing the same on their side. So they will still go for this one, but it means only one will be able to pick that one up. We've seen a lot of AD carries actually go for that level 2 first, even though I was kind of expecting supports to get that level 2, at least if you're like Braum or someone who really benefits from having a second skill to make a play happen. But in general, it's been the AD carries. Yeah,
they want to make sure that they have that lane presence available to them. Because if you give that early level 2 to the support, yes, that's great. You can set up for an engagement. As speaking of engagement, Reggie taking a bit of a binding to the side. Ezreal's and binding seem to be a thing when you and I cast.
To be fair, I mean, I don't think he thought that one was going for him because Fiddle kind of sidestepped and then it hit him instead. So just worst like, bodyguard EU. It's just like, yeah, the bullet's going towards the guy he's protecting. It's
Whoa,
like,
that was close. I nearly got
the way. Yeah. Yes. Worst bodyguard.
So by giving a level 2 to your AD carry, sure, if the Morgana was level 2, that'd be you could set up for the engagement slightly quicker, but then your AD carry is only level 1 going up against the level 2 AD carry, and you don't really want that deficit because the level 2 will always come out ahead. So yeah, it makes a bit of sense. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Ezreal actually coming out with the CS advantage. Now, typically in the 2v2, I would give this one over to the Lucian Morgana. The Black Shield does wonders against the Braum passive, as well as that Lucian in the early game just is so much stronger than the Ezreal, who takes a little while to ramp up.
But they are pushed up, and Nero is coming in. He's got the double buffs in his level 3. Reggie, he's already used his E. He's going to have to flash out of the way. Fiddle maybe under attack, going to have to flash out of the way of the Dark Binding as well. Both flashes burn in the bottom lane for Tricked, and successful gank from Nero.
So, Tricked, they tried to be a little bit more aggressive. Reggie was the guy that really stood out from Tricked in yesterday's game. Having 6-3-1 on that Ezreal, and having spoken to their coach, he is the guy that really is the standout player. Typically, if they can, they want to get him ahead so that he can just run away with things. And they wanted to start that off very early on into the game, putting a bit of pressure down onto Melty's bottom lane. Unfortunately, because of that pressure, it set up perfectly for Nero to come in from the flank and burn both flashes down from Trick. So now they're going to be forced to play very passively and just have a look at that very deep ward you can see in the bottom lane. Already, Melty is saying we can set it for a TP play.
And Atom would be more than happy to get out of top lane currently because he's trying to face Fin on that Nart. 23 farm to 21 right now. Nero and Broxar gonna find each other in the jungle. Nero does land the cocoon. A bit of damage there, looking for a venomous bite. Nisku coming in from the mid lane, flash out of the way, jumps back to his team. Broxar trying to survive out of this one. Wax also rotating from the bottom lane. Broxar almost certainly gonna go down. First blood to Niski. Now Nero also backing off. Wax is dropping low. Fiddle is in. Hot pursuit. Kassadar comes in from the mid lane. Great binding from Kyrdos. And that's just going to be a 1-0. Atom has managed to find Fin locked in that Mega Gnar form. Not as slippery as his Mini Gnar form, so Atom was able to return some damage.
Broxar tried to be aggressive. He wanted to try and alleviate some of the pressure from the bot lane by putting a bit of pressure down onto Nero. What ended up happening, though, was that he's overextended, the immediate rotation down from Niski to set up for the collapse, and the Melty bottom lane also setting up for that three-pronged attack to force Broxar to burn his flash very early on. Melty continue with their aggression, knowing that they have the numbers advantage, and results in LeBlanc now getting a very early red buff. If you thought that this lane was going to be rough at 6, it's going to be all the more worse now with LeBlanc picking up that first blood.
Nice binding from Kyrdos as well in the bottom lane, just to put a bit more damage. We're going to see the whole sequence of events once again.
So have a look at this. Broxar being a little bit too over-aggressive. I do like the flash that comes out from him to get closer to his team, knowing that they can provide that support. But have a look at the indecision that comes out from Trix, because they initially focus down onto Nero, who he gets the heal, and then they swap over to Wax. Now they can't decide, do we go onto Kyrdos, do we go back onto Niski? And the team is just really undivided, and that results in them not being able to get themselves any return kills. So Tricked, this early game not going the way that they planned out.
A bit of a shame, but that is still only first blood. They're not too far behind, but 600 gold ahead. Melty are currently 5 minutes into this game. Broxar is just going to be clearing out this Scuttle Crab on the top side of the map. Nero is looking to set up a gank in the top side. Is currently sat in this bush, and it has been pink warded. Fin, remember, does not have flash, as he had to jump away from Atom earlier, who has his own flash. And Broxar is heading up the river. Finfin is going to hop away to safety, you would have to assume. Nero is not going to be flashing after him. Had to use his own flash in the last engagement. Broxar is going to be found out by the Elise. Going to be following up with a bit of damage. Very annoying for Graves in that scenario because he can't shoot back at the Elise because the Spyling's in the way. So his projectiles are going to get blocked.
That reminds me of that great Reddit play of the Lucian versus the Graves, where the Lucian literally just ran around the turret as Graves couldn't do anything because he kept hitting into the turret. So
can't use Q, can't use auto attacks. Like the only thing he can do is dash through the tower or
cry.
Or cry.
Start stacking
or kill him with smoke
tears.
screen. Yeah. Kyrdos, he was looking for a gank in the mid lane, but couldn't quite line it up. Atom is not doing too badly in the top lane now. He did have to use teleport though, so that's why he's got that CS advantage currently. He's picked up the Sheen as a first item. That's like a statement more than anything. It's just like, I actually don't care about you, Finfin. I'm just gonna go for the damage option.
Yeah, it looks like he's going for the very early Frozen Gauntlet to have a bit of lane presence up against Finfin, who naturally will go for that early Black Cleaver, as we have been harping on about throughout this tournament. As now, have a look at this Niski hitting level 6 to level 5 of Castar. That's thanks to that first blood that Niski was able to pick up, and he's going for the aggressive play. And yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, Niski, I like the timing because he knows Castar's going to be 6 soon anyway, so he might as well get some damage down with the Mimic and see if he can set up for a kill afterwards. We've got Elise coming in, lands a tether. He's got Atom coming in from the left-hand side. And Catadar's also dropping low. He's actually going to fall to Nero very quickly. Atom was CC'd under the tower, but Broxar does not have enough damage.
Beautiful collapse coming out from Melty. Action continuing in the bottom lane a little bit, but really nice setup from Melty. As you were talking about, Niski wanted to get that initial damage down because he knew that he had the level advantage, and thanks to that, he then followed that up with Nero being behind him and Adam coming in from the flank. They knew that Catadar's flash was still on cooldown. As long as the chains landed, there was no reason why Melty couldn't pick that one up. They do have to take a bit of turret damage, but they're going to be pretty happy picking up that second kill.
Broxar looking for a gank in the bottom lane. He was revealed by that ward, so Wax and Kyrdos have already started to back off. He really wants this ward because he already used a sweeper for it, so he's going to get it. But Kyrdos is going to take away the ward as well. Top lane, Finfin under a bit of duress. Atom was already very low though, and Nero does not connect his cocoon, so they aren't able to pick up a kill or even really pressure Finfin at all. If anything, Finfin's pressuring Broxar, or rather Nero, out of lane.
So going for that early Sheen, starting to backfire a little bit on Adam. He had to use that flash in the middle lane to guarantee the kill for Melty, but because of that, he's now put on the back foot a little bit. He doesn't have those defensive stats to help him up against the long range now. He doesn't have any early armor as the teleport comes in the bottom lane.
He's got the CP advantage. Kyrdos and Wax not in a good position. Kyrdos uses the Black Shield on himself, and that means his ADC is left out to dry. Look at him just walk away, happy with how that one turns out. Kyrdos, you deserve that true shot barrage hitting you as you back off to the tower.
Kyrdos knows his priorities. He looks to his AD carry and he's like, you'll be fine, right? You'll be fine. And then he just walks on out of there. Absolutely no worries whatsoever. Really, what? Do I like the play from a support perspective? Yeah. Yes. But hang on a second, Melty, they want to try and get something back.
Well, it's Morgana and Niski, so good luck with making that play work. Nero was also coming in. But they didn't quite want it, especially with Castar being so close to the mid laner as she was roaming down. So we're going to see how this one pans out. But both of the mid lanes are back into this one. Lands a Sigil and a Distortion. Look at that. 30 CS ahead right now. Oh, 20 CS. I'm bad at counting.
Math is hard,
it is.
As we've established. Yep. So tricked right there, nice reactive play, finally get themselves a kill on the board, using the T advantage that they have, knowing that Atom won't be able to follow up and protect that bottom lane, means that Regia is starting to ramp up. He's completed the tier, completed the pickaxe, going to be working towards that Muramana that Ezreal's love to pick up. Combined with the Frozen Gauntlet, he's going to have that fantastic mid-game spike alongside the Victor, who's going to be working towards his Hex Core and that very early Abyssal Scepter. So, tricked right now, as long as they can maintain the gold deficit that they're at for the next 10 minutes, they should be looking at a pretty good position to be in the mid-game. Yeah, not too bad at all. But the first dragon is probably going to be taken out by Melty. It is an Ocean Dragon, so going to give them extra regeneration throughout this game out of combat. And Nero and Wax should be able to finish this one off. That one goes down. What's the next dragon going to be? Oh, I'm going to talk about mid lane first, though. As Niski comes in, lands quite a bit of damage onto Catadar. Has to be careful now, because he doesn't have the barrier, remember. He has that cleanse, so he's not going to be able to block out any of the damage in from Niski's next combo. Broxar is going to be the one holding the fort in mid lane.
who probably doesn't want to be here anymore as he gets the Fear chains on him with the Sigil.
So another great thing for the LeBlanc here is now every time he goes and trades in, even if Cassadar gets a bit of back damage, thanks to the Ocean Drake, Niski's just going to be able to regenerate some of that back up. So Niski likely to always come out ahead in these exchanges, and that Water Drake going to be doing a lot of work for the laners of Melty early on.
Got another Ocean Dragon coming up for the next one, so it will be 2 in a row.
Yeah.
I think this is like the third time that, Reggie gets called out. A lot of damage coming in from Wax. This time, here's the Black Shield. Kyrdos, that was the one from earlier. And they'll put more damage onto the enemy ADC. But now, looking for another binding, didn't connect this time. Kyrdos has been very aggressive in this lane. Also looking for a roam from Niski, but he was seen out by Cassadar.
Yeah, this is something you have to be very mindful of when playing the... hang on a second, check out the top lane.
Yeah, Atom is wailing away on Finfin up there. Goes into Meganar. Doesn't really want to be Meganar right now. Will have to burn the flash. Nero is trying to get around the minions so he can use the cocoon. Double flash comes in from both Melty members to secure the kill.
Wow, so I wanted to praise Finfin for his play there. He jumped into the minion wave to prevent Nero from being able to land that cocoon. Then he lands the point-blank stun to prevent any kind of follow-up. What he didn't expect was the double flash coming out from Melty to secure themselves that kill. With the two members now, they should be able to push down onto this tier 1 turret and maybe secure that first objective of the game.
Broxar has been noticed by this Warden in the bottom lane, but Wax and Kyrdos may just have to back away from the tower regardless. Got the TP support coming out from Atom, who's going to land a great pillar, but the binding will fall short out from Kyrdos, so he will walk away scot-free. Niski was walking down river as well, seeing if he can make anything happen. Nero takes the tower in the top lane, and Cassadar will be walking back into his natural habitat of the mid lane as well. So after all of that, nothing happened.
Well, Melty, they got themselves a tier 1 turret in the top, and thanks to the teleport from Adam, he's going to keep his bottom lane alive. As Binding going to be landing down onto Fiddle, but he is going to be fine. Finfin may have found Nero.
Lands the last Q to proc off his hyper, a bit more damage as he'll back off into his jungle. He's got the Hunter's Potion though, so he's not going to be too unhappy with that as he was trying to steal away the blue buff. And Niski and Cassadar still trading off in the mid lane.
Okay, so we're approaching the 15-minute mark. We need to think about items.
It's like 2 minutes away, Vedia. It's a lot of time.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well,
it's League of Legends.
Okay, that's fair. Well, once we hit that 15-minute mark, it's going to be absolutely massive for this LeBlanc in particular, because once she has that first major item is when she wants to start that snowball going. So the Morello Nomicon being completed says, I want to go aggressive, I want to try and put some pressure up around the lanes, and given how dominant she has been throughout the laning phase, she needs to start applying more of this global pressure. Just shove in the mid lane, start roaming around, and use this deep vision that you've been able to set up to get these picks. Have a look at how overextended Finfin is. This would be a perfect setup for Niski to try and capitalize on.
Well, Nero was looking for it in the top lane, but he did have his own vision set up. Broxar is clearing out the mid wave as well. How are we doing in terms of farm? Because mid is getting wrecked right now. Cassadar is about 30 farm down. This time he's 30 farm down. Top lane is a little bit ahead for Atom, but if anything, he's more than equal, which is basically perfect for a jungle lane against a Nard. Bot lane is even. Jungle is a slight advantage to Broxar. Definitely been farming more this game than Nero has. He's been more involved in the ganks, been trying to do stuff in terms of objectives. The full combo landing from Niski, going to be jumping back to his distortion pad. Nero as well coming in with the volatile spiraling, but again, Cassadar's at 40%, and that is more than kill range for Niski at long range. So yeah, Cassadar needs to rethink his life choices.
Yeah, he certainly does. He needs to get that Abyssal Scepter completed as soon as possible. Now with the alleviated pressure from Victor having to go back to base, this is an opportunity for Melty to set up for this Rift Herald. Reggie going to try and steal it. Is he going to be able to pull it off? I feel like it's very ambitious.
Not quite there.
Yeah, not quite
well,
there.
he tagged Nero as well on the way up, but at least they know that they're there, and that's going to go over to Atom. So, yeah, that's very good for Atom right now. Not only is he ahead in that lane in terms of farm, but now he's got the Iceborne Gauntlet up against the Black Cleaver, finished up by Finfin, and he's got the Rift Herald buff in the mid lane. That's the full combo. Cassadar will be cleansing out of the damage, but with Kyrdos coming in, he's just going to wave his arms up in the air, and he's going to go down to the Soul Shackles. Cassadar, one of the worst ways to die in League of Legends, I feel. 1-0 over to Melty. Top lane, Atom's going to be aggressing on Finfin. Look at the damage out from the Chomp. Is going to land the pillar, but unfortunately disengaged for himself. Finfin, what are you doing? Just back into Atom, who will be quite happy to put some damage back onto him. But Subjugate has already been used, and Broxar is there to back up Nah. So after all of that, that was just a 1-0 kill to Melty.
So the Melty's solo laners trying to strut their stuff right now. Nisqy being able to pick up what was practically a solo kill, but thanks to Kurdos was able to secure that one off the back. And it did mean that Nisqy also didn't have to burn his flash to get that one. So they're going to get themselves a mid turret using that glimpse of the void buff on top of Adam. He's also showing why you cannot afford to give that one away to someone like a Trundle, because you just have so much more lane presence. Melty, they're going to lose a turret in the top half of the map, but with 3 members strong down in the bottom, they're going to try and replicate that.
Yeah, try and make something happen. But Essence Reaver now completed by Wax, which is a little bit different from what we've been seeing.
It is, yeah.
We've generally been seeing the Ghost Blade first, but going to hold that thought for a second as we theory craft those items, because Nero is in the bottom lane. Full culling is going to be landing onto Reggie and Fiddle, but they'll clear out this minion wave. It's down to about 25% HP, so they're still holding strong in his bottom lane tower. But the dragon is alive, and it is the second ocean one, so I believe Melty would be very happy to pick that one up. Nero's going to wander on by and start it. Places down a ward, and actually Tricks are completely blind. There's also a pink ward going down, so Nero is going to take this one away. The Spylings are tanking currently, and with Kidos and Wax down there, I don't think there's anything they can do about it.
There's also pressure all across the map coming out from Melty. Notice that Nisqy shoved the wave all the way down mid, preventing Kassadar from even being able to slightly react. The pressure keeps coming in from both Wax and Kurdos in the bottom lane as well, shoving Reggie and Fiddle underneath their turret, preventing them from really being able to intervene, and that allows Nero to just pick that a second Ocean Dragon up for free, and that's going to give them 8% regeneration for both their health and their mana when they're not in combat, so that's a pretty nice thing to have.
I think this is like the 3rd game in a row now that I've seen double Ocean Dragons, so that's not a bad curse to have, because I know Stress, every time he casts, it's a Cloud Dragon first every single time.
Yeah, I did notice that yesterday.
Which is kind of boring, because no one really cares about the Cloud Dragon. We saw a Cloud Dragon, the first dragon of the game, go down at like 20 minutes.
Joe, so I saw, or I found out that, oh, hang on a second, Nisqy, he's found Broxar.
He has, or has Broxar found Nisqy? There's all this damage coming out from the auto attacks alone. Nisqy's Ethereal Chains will proc off, and both of them will just walk away, walk it off. Broxar is thinking about he wants to do something. He wants the Herald. Oh, good reaction times. The quick draw right into the flash over the wall. Nero will survive. Or rather, Broxar will from Nero's attack. So, flashes exchange on the junglers.
Yeah, so bit of an exchange back and forth. Broxar feeling confident that he was able to push Nisqy back. Wasn't really expecting Nero to just leap out of the brush. But fortunately able to get away. So, Tricked right now, they're definitely on the back foot. Falling behind in this early game, but this is what you would expect from this composition. You have more of a scaling comp with the Victor and the Ezreal coming out from Tricked, and then you have the Elise for the early pressure up against the more farm-heavy jungler that is Graves. You have the LeBlanc being super lane dominant in the mid lane, and Wax on this Lucian down in the bottom. After picking up that early pressure, and from the early gank that came out from Nero, it's not really that surprising that Melty hold the early game. The question is, how are they going to do moving forward? Because we saw them yesterday. They had a pretty good early game, a decent mid, but then heading towards the late, they really struggled under the pressure. Their decisions were just a little bit too instantaneous, be it very much like, oh, should we go for this? Yes, let's just go for it. And they didn't really think it through entirely, didn't set up properly, and that could be where Trick looked to get themselves back into it.
It's not the worst problem to have, though. We've had a lot of indecisive teams, so if you're just pulling the trigger, sometimes it will just work out if you have sick teamfight mechanics. But yeah, they weren't really thinking through their decisions late game, which did turn to bite them. Tricked, however, just trying to get towards that mid game, trying to survive and get in there with their full teamfight composition. However, if Nisqy just murders your mid lane, they're not going to be so good. The Ezreal ultimate did not secure the red buff, so Melty do get away with that one. Just trying to deny as much as they can while they have the advantage. Broxar also gets CC'd up by Kidos, who is making his way out of the jungle. Top laners are still just whacking away at each other. Finfin, he's going to pop his own ultimate. Nisqy's on his way up to try and close off onto this Mininar who's just gone into that form. Misses the chains. Also a lot of damage. But Kassadar's coming in from the mid lane, so didn't want to stick around. And also Atom wasn't quite in range, but he did have his flash, so maybe they could have finished him off. Nisqy maybe didn't know his own strength because he had an ignite after that. After the distortion landed, it was like, oh, okay.
I didn't realize that Finfin had no magic resistance, has gone for the very early Black Cleaver, no defensive stats, going up against a Morello Nomicon, working into the death cap second. Niski definitely wants to snowball this early advantage. 1-0 and 2 right now, 20 minutes into the game, is Adam trying to zone away Broxah so that Melty can pick themselves up a blue buff. Wax.
Oh, he's going to be hopping the culling, jumping back to his support. Kidos popping the Soul Shackles, finishes off onto Fiddle, but it looks like this time the support is going to go down for the ADC. In fact, they're both dead because Castar roams in from the mid lane and Fiddle guides him towards the mid laner. That'll be 2-0. Trick firing back with 2 more kills.
Tricked doing a great job of capitalizing on the over-aggression coming out from Melty. They realized that Wax was by himself, Kurdos not close enough to provide the support that he needed, and it ended up being Reggie and Phil being able to pick themselves up 2 kill with a bit of support from Castar, and him having that kill is definitely going to help him come back into this game given how much he has never mind. Never mind.
Again, another scenario, if he just ignited, he probably would have killed him, but either way, he's shoved him out of lane. That's all he really needed to do. Finfin is now forced to go into the mid lane to try and fill in the blanks. Nero is also there to support Melty's side, and bot lane is being shoved in from Trick. So it's not like all 3 lanes are winning from one team. It's kind of back and forth, but Atom definitely has the upper hand top lane. Niski definitely has the upper hand mid lane. That was sad.
That was sad. Literally on the edge of the tormented soil. Oh well, nevertheless. Tricked right now. Feeling a little bit happy they managed to close that gold gap. Still have 2 turrets to the 3 of Melty. They are down in Dragons, and it is going to be spawning in about 1 minute's time. That could be a point of contention for Tricked, now that you can see some big items starting to be completed. Rylai is going to be next on the menu for Cassadar. We have seen this a lot more on Victor, given the changes to his ultimate, and how now, as a Victor, you want to keep people in that ultimate so you can get as many ticks off as possible, because he ticks a total of 4 times, and I can't remember exactly the damage, but it's around 150 to like 250. Yeah. So if you do 200 times by 4, 800 damage if you're sitting in that whole thing. So pretty ridiculous, and that's just the base stats. So a little bit insane if you do manage to get someone in all of that. But Cassadar has been struggling, forced to use the cleanse.
And that will mean Niski will jump over the wall. The culling comes out from Wax. Even though this time, ironically, the Ignite did come out from Niski. Fiddle has been caught up in this engagement as well. This is not the place he wants to be, but Broxah has his back. Uses him to jump towards him using Stand Behind Me. Collateral damage, very close to finishing off Niski. Fiddle gonna turn around, uses ultimate. Oh, the snipe out from Reggie was beautiful. Now Broxah will try and return some damage. Now the TP's coming out from Finfin, but a little bit too late. Perhaps a double kill out from Reggie. The sniper right here on Ezreal, definitely turning up in this game. Now 3-0 and 2. 100% kill participation as an ADC.
So Melty, they are using their pick composition to find these picks all across the map, and this is great, exactly what they want to be doing, playing around their vision. They get the pick, but they over-aggress. They feel like they can try and force a team fight rather than just go for the dragon, and that ends up paying really badly for them as Nero, he's getting caught out.
Well, he got the blue buff, but for how long? Finfin is going to pop the ultimate, but it was flashed away from by Nero. Great timing on that one, right after the repel. That was another Ocean Dragon. That was the 3rd one of the game, but it was denied from Melty. Kind of sad. I would have liked to see the 3 all stacked up.
What would you call that, though?
I don't know, but we have plenty of time to think about it. I'm sure over the course of the CSQ, we will have a good name for Triple Ocean Dragon. If you guys at home have a good idea, tweet at us. Because you're smarter than we are, for sure.
That is definitely true. As right now, Melty looking for that potential pick once more. Reggie on the back line, seeing if that Ezreal curse relating to Morgana bindings is a real thing. But backtracking to that engagement. Perfect. Replay just in time. Notice here, Cassadar, he ends up getting caught out by Kurdos, and he's forced to use the cleanse because he knows Niski is coming in for the play. Even with the cleanse, he doesn't have his flash. He ends up getting caught off. And now, this is a great position for Melty to be in, to just rotate round to the dragon, get control over that area. But no, they want to get themselves another pick. And when Fiddle escapes here, this is the overcommitment. Look at how much return damage Niski ends up taking. Look at how hard they're committing for just just the support. And this means that Regé on the backline is just free to get that poke sustain damage out that Ezreal has. He's hit this mid-game point. He's doing the damage that he needs to do, and there's very little that Melty can do to get away from it. They've taken a huge amount of poke damage. They give over the Ocean Dragon as well as that tier 1 turret in the mid lane, and now that goal difference is starting to look a lot closer than it originally was.
It really is, and it's only really going to get better for Trick because they have such a good team fighting composition. Melty's going to find it harder and harder, and despite Nisqy doing so much damage, if you get into a team fight, then you're probably just going to die to all this CC and damage out from Trick. Either way, 5-6 currently in this game, 25 minutes in, and only 1,000 gold separates the two teams. Melty ever so slightly ahead in terms of that metric, but with the towers, 3-2-3, and 2 Ocean Dragons to Melty and 1 to Tricked. Fin's gonna have to flash away. Good juke out of the way of the Cocoon. Broxar comes in. Regé as well. The cavalry has indeed arrived, and that was the sickest true shot barrage of all time, finishing off both targets. 2-0. Double kill to Regé once again.
Melty once more trying too hard to force this pick out from Trick. They commit so hard onto Fin, but they don't realize that the support is there from Trick. Regé is there to back them up. He has the damage, and now Trick, they feel confident enough to go for this Baron.
Kidos is there. Wax is going to be supporting him, and so is the mid laner, the LeBlanc. It's all going to be blocked up by Fiddle, trying to keep this Baron alive. It goes down to Broxar, and of course Tricked. Nisqy gonna try and land those chains. Castor chases afterwards. The Aftershock not gonna catch Kidos on the way out. Wax returning some damage, but that was another dragon, another objective, or rather the Baron over the Tricked. And everything is really swinging their way over the last 6 minutes.
So Regé finally turning out to be the AD carry that we'd heard so much about before coming into this tournament. This guy finds a small advantage, and he is running away with it all across the map, using that Ezreal hyper aggressively to help his team get the advantages that they need to transition forward from this mid-game point. They have the item spikes that they needed. Victor is well on his way to completing that Rylai's. Fin is now starting to get much tankier, which is helping against this LeBlanc, who, after going for this hyper-aggressive build, is slowly starting to fall off.
Ready? He's just clearing out the minion wave. I was getting excited because every single time I've seen him in True Shot Barrage, he's either picked up a kill or a snipe or a double kill, or this time it was just clearing out a minion wave. But he was 5-0-2. He was massive in this game. Nero finds Broxar. He's going to just hit him with the Cocoon real quick. And everyone is backing off for now. Dragon isn't up for another 3 minutes at least. So let's take a look at the items. On one side, Wax has deviated from the build we were expecting him to go for. Hasn't gone for the Black Cleaver or the Ghost Blade. On the opposite side, Regé, with all of that gold he's got, has gone for the more Malmortiers. A standard blue build, I think you could say here.
Yeah, but picking that one up this early on, 3 items completed for the Ezreal at 27 minutes is a very early time to be that powerful. And you can just see the poke that he's being able to put down. Very confidently standing up, knowing that Fiddle's there to support him. And what was a very rough early game from Trick, they've been able to turn this one around beautifully. But let's talk a little bit more about this build coming out from Wax, because it's not a bad build, that's not the case. It's more about the fact as to what the Black Cleaver Yomus does provide. It's that early game power, which Melty, they really did need. They had a fantastic early game, and maybe if Lucian had gone for that more early-centric itemization, they could have turned that into a bit of a snowball. Yeah. He decided not to go for it. He is going to scale a little bit better now, going more towards that heavy crit. But is he really going to be able to outscale this Ezreal, who's already at 3.5 items?
He's 2,000 gold over Lucian right now.
Oh my
Look
word.
how strong he is. It's not often when you see the ADC taking down an assassin flashing after the mid laner.
Wow.
But yeah, he's sending a message right now. The hunted has become the hunter for sure. Wax and Kidos in the top lane trying to defend this tower with the rest of Melty. Fiddle's now coming in. Cassadar lands the rest of his damage. Big ultimate will land, and the rest of the overtime damage will shred apart Melty. Fin coming in as well. Melty dropping low, lose one member, trade off Fiddle on the other side, but the push continues with the Baron buff.
But have a look at the poke that's now available to Regé. So many low health targets on Melty. I don't know if they can defend this tier 3.
It's going down very, very quickly. A lot of poke damage coming out from Nisqy, and the minion wave also dissipated. Following after onto Fin, good CC chain out from Nero and Kidos. That will be the kill courtesy of Nisqy, and they find themselves a kill, and that wasn't even the tower going down. So, successful defense from Melty. A lot of that patchy to Nisqy.
Yeah, really good job coming out from Melty. Having taken down Braum, a lot of that peel that Tricked had available to them before is no longer available. So as long as Melty play the dance back and forth, they just need to find that one CC to then start stacking it up with the LeBlanc, with the Morgana, with the Elise. You can find that target and quickly shut them down. So let's have a look at this siege once more. Fiddle, he's on the front line. He's soaking up as much of the damage as possible. And Tricked, the best target they can really focus is Adam, given that they're positioning. So you'd think this is great. You trade support for top laner, but now that support is not available to keep you alive against all this threat of the potential pick. Just keep an eye on what Nisqy tries to do. He's going to dive in and draw a lot of the attention to himself, which means that Nero is going to go a little bit unnoticed. He's going to allow that to get the crowd control that he needs. Nisqy landing the initial chain, and that's all they need to then get the pick down onto Finfin.
Once any of that CC lands, is just like Cocoon into Binding, into Snare, into you being dead. And Melty laid that perfectly. Also, props to Nisqy for clearing out the entire minion wave using double distortion. Infernal Dragon is up 29 minutes into this game. Broxar is going to be taking a lot of damage from this one, actually. Nero is around the area, so it's a little risky to try and solo. And Kyrdos is just trying to put down some vision, trying to get some, or clear away this vision, rather. Broxar is also coming up. But this is kind of a half-hearted attempt from Trick to try and take this dragon, because Finfin's going into the top lane. Reggie was thinking about going bot lane, is now going towards the dragon area. And it looks like Melty aren't even interested in trying to contest this.
It does look like they're going to hand this one over. I don't know if that's the best decision from Melty, given how strong the teamfight composition is of Trick. If they can get that extra damage, they're going to be more than happy to take it. This is the 4th and final dragon prior to the Elder Dragon spawning, which will be popping his lovely face up at about 35 minutes. Wait, have we confirmed that the Elder Dragon's a he or a she?
No, actually, no. I have no idea, but maybe someone can help us out with that one. Kassadar trading off with Nisqy, though. He's got the ultimate on top of himself, following after another sigil. It's not quite enough damage, and both mid laners managed to get out alive there in that one-on-one.
Kassadar demonstrating that he can trade back a little bit more comfortably now with the LeBlanc.
That's important.
He is the level 15 to the level 16. The fact that, yes, he did have to use his flash, but he was able to come out ahead and force Nisqy to actually back away. So having completed that Abyssal is helping him a lot as the TP now comes in for Adam.
Yeah, Finfin also goes to his team. It hasn't resourced anything just yet. Reggie is just going to jump after Nero. So much damage coming out. Finfin's going to use Fiddle to hop a little further, but now Atom has found him. A lot of damage coming out from Wax as well. He's getting chunked down real fast before he can get into Mega Gnar, and he's not even going to make it. The Mini Gnar will bite the dust. Reggie and Fiddle are trying to escape. Q comes across, piercing light, but he turns around. He's now dominating. Kyrdos is going to flash after. Soul Shackles comes in. Nisqy follows up with the damage and will jump away, but will also go down to Reggie coming out there. Broxar will be flashing out of the way, end of the line, collateral damage, the combo misses. Kassadar looking to line up some kills, but everyone is backing away from Melty. All in all, that was a 2 for 3.
Wow, so in a, what was a 3 versus 5 fight, Trick is still able to find 2 kills off the back of Reggie, doing what he can to keep his team alive. I mean, Trick have the gold advantage right now, but the problem is that they were a little bit divided. You had Kassadar in the middle and completely divided from his team. Broxo is in the top half of his jungle. They were just 2 members short of what Trick needed to set up a proper siege in the bottom lane. They overcommit, they overextend. They end up losing out in that fight. But the fact that Reggie by himself could get 2 kills, just unbelievable play from him.
Reggie is pretty strong right now. 7, 1, and 3 is on 4 items and a half versus his counterpart who is on 3 and a bit. So definitely ahead in terms of the arms race. But let's take a look at the start of that one, because I was confused because the teleports were coming in and then he's kind of joining their allies, but Reggie just went deep.
Oh, okay. So the teleport came in from the Trundle to actually capital the fall down on Graves. That's why he was in the top half of his jungle. And the moment that Reggie starts overcommitting towards getting Nero and Nisqy, Melty quickly just rotate round, decide, let's actually collapse down onto the 3 members. Reggie wasn't quite able to get his heal off in time, but just have a look at the positioning of Reggie and Fiddle. Fiddle soaking up so much of the damage, allowing Reggie to sit on the backline, and if it wasn't for that exhaust, Reggie might have been able to get a lot more damage down, but the fact that he was still able to get that kill before he lost his life, beautiful stuff. Broxer, really nice flash, could have been a great play, just went a little bit wide.
Hasn't that been a story of Broxer? He had a great flash earlier in the game, actually 2. This is the 3rd of the game where it's actually been really good, but then the follow-up has been really not good.
Yeah.
So if he can just make, you know, 1+1, and then he'll have the perfect play. That's what he's looking for.
That's the goal. 1+1 equal perfect play. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
That's how mathematics works.
Precisely.
It's not. So Reggie, he's pushing up the mid lane. He's still very strong, as we've seen. But if they're in a 5-on-5, it basically says that Trick are going to win every time against Melty. If they can do that 3 versus 5, they can probably kill them 5 versus 5. Baron is now alive, so there is a point of contention on the map for both of these two teams. Niski is going to turn this corner into a place he doesn't want to be anymore. He's going to double distortion out of the way, but he's down to 40%. He'll have to take a trip back to base or deal with the fact he's very low, and Baron will just be started. It's not a kill, but it is a key member chunked out on Melty. Atom with the ward over the wall. Baron's already down to 50%. Kyrdos is getting bursted out from Castar on the back lines. Nero's over the wall looking for the steal. Doesn't quite happen, but the mid laner has gone down. Castar has bitten the dust. Finn over the wall, but he also gets picked up, and everyone is just going in one by one. Even though Trick picked up the Baron, this is not going well at all. Fiddle may have to be the sacrificial Braum here. Atom looking for the pillar, lands it, and now Broxar and Reggie are in full retreat. Atom bit a Mystic Shot there to go down. There's the Mystic Shot, or the True Shot barrage landing onto Wax and Kyrdos. Not quite enough to take him out.
So Trick, they go for the Baron play, and because they all went over the wall, Melty reacted way too slowly before they even realized what was going on. But Trick then just walked into the choke point for Melty, and they did it one at a time as well. You have a pick composition coming out from Melty. What they want to do is focus you down one at a time, so Trick, you cannot afford to play into Melty's hands like that. Really unfortunate overcommitment or response coming out from Trick to give what would have been a great play into somewhat of a mediocre one.
Yeah, there's so single target damage from Melty. It's I'm not really sure why that happened. I mean, Catadar went in to try and zone people away, I get that, but then all trying to save Private Fin just did not pan out. He jumped over the wall, I was expecting the team to be there, didn't quite pan out. We're going to see that one once again. This is just before the Baron's gone down.
So have a look at this. There's absolutely no vision in the pit until very late on. The zone control coming out from TRC and Cassadar is beautiful because it divides Melty's attention. Adam is focusing all his attention down onto the Victor, and even though they get him, TRC feels like, oh, well, Victor's in the fight, we should fight. But then they just go in one after the other, and that's just not what you want to do against a pit composition. Super confidence play coming out from the Lucian and the LeBlanc, knowing that there's no threat from the front line of Tricked, enables them to come out ahead overall for a 3-for-1. But they did lose the Baron, which will enable Trick to continue the Soulless. Fiddle gets caught up.
Reggie is there. Fin over the wall. Eats a binding. Takes a big amount of damage from the culling. Cassadar is coming up. There's a True Shot barrage. Doesn't quite land onto Wax. Kind of breezes past his ear as he's going back into the bottom lane. But Baron was still secured and kept alive on 2 members. So it wasn't the worst case scenario from Tricked. Nero are just still on the defense for sure in this game. And Dragon is up in 30 seconds. That will be the Elder Dragon, which is actually pretty good for both teams. 2 Oceans on Melty, 1 Ocean and an Infernal on Tricked. So we'll see which team decides to prioritize that. There's no Baron on the board, so there's not going to be a trade. It's just going to be which team wants it. Only 15 seconds left. Finfin's got his TP, so he goes back to top lane. And Kyrdos and Niski are set up around the area looking for a pick, carrying out the wards as well. You can see how scared Cassadar is actually. Not got any vision around the area, so he instantly put out the Death Ray to try and see if there's anything in that bush. Now, Dragon's live.
It certainly is. The Elder Dragon, we talked about it earlier, only lasts 2 minutes. If you're going to take it, you have to make it work very quickly. You do not have much margin for error with making that sort of a play. Na is still sitting up in the top lane. Adam does have his teleport, but he's decided to group up with the team. Now he's going to go back to try and deal with some of the pressure coming out from Fin. Niski looking for a pick.
All the damage onto Fiddle. Nero is trying to capitalize. Everyone's just being poked away, but really good vision control from Melty. They were set up around the area way faster than Tricked, so they had the priority over that zone. Top lane Atom and Fin are just kind of trading blows. Both of them have TPs, so they'll most likely want to try and get involved in this fight. There's no turrets ready to fight over in the mid lane. 11-14 right now. This game is a lot closer than it's been over the last couple minutes. Tricked had a lot of momentum, but it's kind of been stalled out by Melty. Mid lane being pushed in. Seems like we're going to be approaching a breaking point very soon here, Vedius.
Does seem that way. The tier 3 turret has been taken down up in the top lane, which means that there is an open inhibitor available right now for Melty. Let's see if Tricked are going to be able to pick this one up. Both teams very hesitant to try and pull the trigger as Tricked setting up for this inhibitor.
Nisqy comes in once again, just zoning people away. We're rapidly approaching the stage in the game where a one-team fight either way will result in a win. And Tricked are a little more chunked out than Melty are. Nisqy still has a lot of damage. It's just about getting that payload over to a high priority target like Reggie or like Kassadar. So we'll see if they can make that happen. And now Tricked all backing away. 5 people in the top lane. And a ping goes down onto the Elder Dragon. So Melty are probably just kind of rush over there and try and take it down as fast as possible. Nero is coming there with Wax. And let's see what they can do. Kind of hit a lull in the action right now. But it's all about prioritizing those big targets. Nisqy and Wax, a lot of damage coming out from them. Reggie on the other side. Elder Dragon being started off, but Tricked are going to reach that area before they finish with it.
Oh, but have a look at Kassadar. He's still near the bottom lane. He's not going to be in a position to actually fight for this as Nisqy, oh, he takes a chunk of damage from Reggie.
That was 2 auto attacks on the Q, and he's already pretty much out of this fight. Wax is going to be trying to land the culling at him. That was not a favorable place to TP into. Fiddle and Broxar are going to try and capitalize on it. Nisqy is off to the side looking for a pick, trying to get into that backline. Nero jumps back into the team, will flash away and also go down. Two-shot barrage doesn't land onto a priority target. Nisqy is still off to the side, outside of vision range for Tricked. So if only he can land that full combo onto Reggie, that would be great, but he's got a Bloodthirster. He's actually shielded up. I don't think he even has the damage to take him out from 100 to 0 right now. All Tricked are locked inside of this pit. Wax and Atom are trying to close in. And the blue turret has gone down. Nisqy is gonna fall. At least his clone will. That's the Elder Dragon over to the blue team. Wax is being caught out. Everyone, as they're on the retreat, Melty go in different directions. And that is just a perfect playground for Reggie just to go ham. Flash out of the way from Fin to chase after Atom. Fiddle's also there. Kirdos, he's in 2 minds. And that hesitation will get him killed. Reggie is there to capitalize. And there's the Mystic Shot to finish him up. 3 go down on Melty. And now Tricked. This Rift is their playing field.
So Reggie is really the man of the hour right there, because while the Dance of the Dragon was going on, he went off to the side, he chunked out Nisqy, and because Nisqy felt so afraid of trying to go in for any commitment due to the amount of damage that he took, Trick were effectively in a 5 versus 4. They get the pick down onto Nero, and now with the Elder Dragon, they're going to set up for the siege onto this inhibitor, and they're actually making this Elder Dragon work.
Oh, Nisqy still got the damage onto Broxar, looking for the last sigil, but the rest of Trick is there to capitalize. Atom, he's going to be eating up the entirety of the Chaos Storm. Fin is going to come in here as well. 2 kills over to Trick, and fight after fight, they still come out ahead. And with the middle inhibitor going down, it's very likely to be the curtains coming down on Melty's chances to win this game. And they will be 0-3, but it will be the first win for Tricked as they take down the first Nexus turret. It is right in their grasp to take this one away, and the chances at getting into the finals are still alive.
Melty had a fantastic early game, but unfortunately for them, it was Tricked that were able to make their teamfight composition work. And if we just think back to that game in its entirety, things were looking so good for Melty. They had the fantastic mid lane performance up in the top lane. Adam was holding his own on the Trundle. The Lucian Morgana was doing phenomenally, taking down that turret relatively early on, taking both their flashes away, but they just didn't transition that early game lead into anything. They overextended, and when Reggie got those first 2 kills down in the bottom lane, that's really where things started to snowball into Trick's favor.
I mean, isn't that what we've said about Melty for the entire tournament? Their mid game and the early game is generally pretty good. Generally, they get the advantage as well. Nisqy does well, Atom does well, bot lane does fine. And then they just fall apart when it gets to late game. And Trick kind of just not only emphasize that, but also Reggie just got, absolutely huge in that game. Had like 8 kills, was literally just murdering everyone. So, yeah, Trick could actually still be a real contender because they've had a lot of difficult matches out of the way, and now they could have a decent stretch now if they win all of the games from here on out to get into those finals.
Yeah, they do need to win all of their games, and ideally they want low priority or Misfits to lose a bunch now moving forward.
That would be nice.
But it's still, their hopes are still alive. They still exist. Tricked can come out with a win, and really I feel like a lot more attention is now going to be focused on Reggie after a performance like that. If we just look at the mid, Cassadar, you know, I don't mean to hate on the guy, but he did get dumpstered on. I mean, that LeBlanc really... I mean, yeah, it's not a fantastic matchup, but his positioning was questionable.
That's true.
When they took that Baron by himself, he was doing a lot of crazy things. The Gnar up in the top, and Fin, not a bad player, but he also getting caught out a couple times. And I do feel like right now, the lineup for Tricked is very much that bottoming. Fiddle and Reggie, phenomenal players coming out from that bottom half of the map. And as long as they have even the slightest of leads, they can have such a phenomenal impact.
I think so too. And Broxar kind of has half the recipe. Like, he makes the initial good play and then makes the follow-up not good play. But if he follows up with a good play, because, like, it was well aimed. Like, he just missed, you know. Well, okay, it wasn't well aimed. The combo was good. He landed, like, the Q and the ult in fast succession.
It was the wind.
Exactly. It's just like, they just happened to step to the right. But if he'd landed that, it would have been great, because it may have even been a triple, because they were very low in that scenario.
They had the Victor coming in as well. As long as he turned it into a 2v2, maybe. But we will unfortunately never know.
Yeah,
but it was still it was a fun game to cast. 40 minutes. Things are getting a little bit longer. Both teams a little bit too afraid to really pull the trigger, because as we've been seeing more, hard engage is starting to lack, because the top lanes are moving away from these big heavy tank engages, and they're now moving towards sort of off tanks, slightly more carry style plays. The Trundle, the Gnar. We're still seeing the Echo up there from time to time. We are still seeing the Maokai, but in terms of hard engages, I feel like we need to start transitioning more back, maybe into the jungle. The Gragas, I feel, has been working out really nicely for a lot of the teams that have been picking him up, simply due to the way that he can force these engages. He acts as a secondary tank, and if you want to take that range support, then maybe you need that double tank to come out from both the jungle and the top.
There's a very good chance. I mean, we've seen a lot of elites and we've seen a lot of pick compositions, and that's what Melty ran here, so they can still work.
They can.
But yeah, like, Gragas has also gone up in priority. I'd like to see more Echo, because we're seeing a lot of Echo, like, step through all the way through the banning phase, even though, like, Gnar is available, and it's like, well, what do you want to take here, because you can pick the Echo still, so it just depends on preference, I guess. But we are going to be gearing up for our next game very shortly, so with one game wrapped up, we're going to go to a quick break, so we'll be back in just a second.